My name is Natalia Rivers. And if you are watching this right now, I need you to pause everything you are doing. Because what I am about to tell you is not just a story about betrayal. It is a story about survival, about power, and about how sometimes, the most devastating heartbreak becomes the birthplace of your greatest strength. You think you know what it feels like to be broken. You think you understand the weight of betrayal. But until you have stood in a room full of smiling faces, watching the two people who destroyed you celebrate their love, you cannot truly comprehend the depth of that pain. And you cannot imagine the fire it ignites inside you. This is my story. And I promise you it will leave you breathless. Let me take you back. 2 years ago, my life looked perfect from the outside. I was 26 years old, running a small but thriving event planning business in the city. I had worked my way up from organizing birthday parties in college dorm rooms to coordinating elegant corporate events and intimate weddings. I loved what I did. There was something magical about watching two people promise forever to each other, surrounded by flowers and candlelight and the people they loved most. I believed in love. I believed in loyalty. I believed in promises that were meant to be kept. And I was in love. His name was Colton. Colton Hayes. Tall, charming, with eyes the color of deep amber, and a smile that could light up the darkest corners of your soul. He was the kind of man who remembered the little things. The way I liked my coffee with just a hint of cinnamon. The way I always tucked my hair behind my right ear when I was nervous. The way I needed silence in the mornings before I could face the world. Colton understood me. Or so I thought. We had been together for 3 years. 3 years of late-night conversations, weekend getaways, and plans for a future that felt so real I could almost touch it. He talked about marriage, about children, about growing old together in a house by the lake. And I believed every single word. Then there was Ivy. Ivy Sinclair. My best friend since college. The person I called when I got my first big client. The person who held my hand when my father passed away. The person who knew every single one of my secrets, my fears, my dreams. Ivy was more than a friend. She was my sister in every way that mattered. We spent hours together, analyzing our lives over coffee, binge-watching shows, celebrating every small victory. She knew Colton almost as well as I did. She was there when we started dating. She was there at our anniversary dinners. She was there. Always there. And I never once questioned it. Looking back now, I realize how blind I was. How naive. How stupidly, heartbreakingly trusting. The first sign came about 6 months before everything fell apart. Colton started becoming distant. He stopped asking about my day. Stopped planning our weekends together. Stopped looking at me the way he used to. First, I thought it was stress from work. He had just started a new position at a marketing firm. And I knew the hours were brutal. So I gave him space. I tried to be understanding. I tried to be the supportive girlfriend who did not nag or demand attention. But then came the phone calls he would take in another room. The late-night texts that made him smile in ways I had not seen in months. The excuses about working late that became more frequent. I felt it in my bones. Something was wrong. So I did what any woman in love would do. I asked him. One night, after he came home smelling like perfume that was not mine, I sat him down. My hands were trembling. My voice barely steady. Colton, are you seeing someone else? He looked at me with such shock, such offense, that I almost felt guilty for asking. Natalia, how could you even think that? I love you. I am just stressed with work. That is all. And I believed him. Because I wanted to. Because the alternative was too painful to even consider. But then I made the mistake of confiding in Ivy. I told her everything. About my suspicions. About the distance. About the fear that was eating me alive from the inside out. She held my hand across the coffee shop table, her green eyes filled with what looked like genuine concern. Natalia, you are overthinking this. Colton loves you. Everyone can see it. Maybe you should plan something special for him. Remind him why you two are so good together. Her words felt like a lifeline. So I listened. I planned a surprise dinner. I bought a new dress. I made reservations at the restaurant where we had our first date. But the night before our planned dinner, everything shattered. Colton broke up with me. Over text. Not even a phone call. Just a cold, cowardly message that appeared on my screen while I was picking out wine for our dinner. Natalia, I think we need to talk. Actually, I do not think I can do this anymore. You deserve someone who understands you better. Someone who can give you what you need. I am sorry. I really am. I read those words over and over again. My hands went numb. My chest felt like it was caving in. I could not breathe. Could not think. Could not understand how 3 years could end with a text message. I called him 17 times. He did not answer. I showed up at his apartment. He was not there. For 3 days I existed in a fog of confusion and pain so deep I thought I might drown in it. Ivy was there through all of it. She brought me food I could not eat. She sat with me while I cried until there were no tears left. She told me I was strong, that I would get through this, that Colton was an idiot for letting me go. And I believed her. Because she was my best friend. Because she would never lie to me. But 2 weeks later I discovered the truth. I was scrolling through social media, torturing myself by looking at Colton's page, trying to find some clue, some explanation for why he left. And there it was. A photo. Colton and Ivy. At a beach I recognized from her stories. His arm around her waist. Her head on his shoulder. Both of them smiling like they had just discovered the secret to happiness. The caption. Sometimes the best things in life come when you least expect them. Found my forever. And Ivy had commented. Could not imagine my life without you now. I stared at that screen until my vision blurred. Until the room started spinning. Until I thought I might actually be sick. My boyfriend. My best friend. Together. Not just together. But happy. Publicly, shamelessly happy. I scrolled back through her posts. There were more. Dinners at restaurants we used to go to. Weekend trips to places we had talked about visiting. Little moments captured in photographs that told a story I had not been part of writing. And the dates on the posts? They started just 3 weeks after Colton and I broke up. Which meant this had been happening while we were still together. While I was crying on Ivy's shoulder about losing him. While she was holding my hand and telling me everything would be okay. She knew. She had known the entire time. And she had helped orchestrate my destruction. The pain I felt in that moment was unlike anything I had ever experienced. It was not just heartbreak. It was betrayal so deep it felt like someone had reached into my chest and torn out everything vital. I blocked them both immediately. Deleted every photo, every message, every memory. I wanted to erase them from my life as completely as they had erased their loyalty to me. For weeks I barely functioned. I showed up to work because I had to. Because I had clients depending on me. Because bills did not stop coming just because your heart was shattered. But inside I was hollow. Empty. A ghost moving through the motions of living without actually being alive. My friends tried to reach out. But how could I trust anyone after that? How could I open up when the two people I trusted most had destroyed me so completely? So I withdrew. I built walls so high and so thick that no one could get through. And I focused on the only thing I had left. My work. Ironically, I specialized in weddings. In creating beautiful moments for couples who believed in forever. Maybe it was masochistic. Maybe I was torturing myself by surrounding myself with love stories while my own had ended in ashes. But there was something cathartic about it too. About understanding the mechanics of commitment. About seeing behind the curtain of romance to the logistics, the planning, the careful construction of a perfect day. I threw myself into it completely. I worked 16-hour days. I took on every client who came my way. And slowly my business grew. Within a year I had tripled my client base. I was booking weddings 6 months in advance. I had hired 2 assistants and was being featured in local wedding magazines. From the outside it looked like success. Like I had moved on and thrived. But inside I was still that girl staring at a phone screen, watching her world collapse. I had not dated. Had not even considered it. How could I trust someone new when I could not even trust my own judgment anymore? And then one ordinary Tuesday morning, I received an email that changed everything. The subject line read, Wedding Inquiry Colton and Ivy. My hand froze over my mouse. For a moment I thought it was spam. Some cruel joke the universe was playing. But then I opened it. Hi Natalia, I know this might be awkward and I completely understand if you say no. But Colton and I are getting married and honestly, you are the best wedding planner in the city. I have seen your work and it is incredible. I know we have not spoken in a while, and things ended badly between all of us. But I would really love for you to plan our wedding. I think it would mean a lot. Let me know if you are interested. Ivy. I read that email 5 times. Each time a different emotion washed over me. Shock, anger, disbelief, and then something else. Something cold and calculated and perfectly clear. Opportunity. She wanted me to plan their wedding. The wedding celebrating the love they built on the ruins of mine. The audacity was breathtaking. The nerve was almost admirable. And in that moment I made a decision. I would say yes. Not because I forgave them. Not because I wanted to reconnect or find closure or any of that therapeutic nonsense. But because I wanted a front row seat to their story. Because I wanted to be there not as a victim but as an architect. And because sometimes the best revenge is not what you destroy. It is what you build. I typed my response carefully, professionally. Hi Ivy. Thank you for reaching out. I would be happy to discuss planning your wedding. Let me know when you would like to schedule a consultation. Natalia. Short. Polite. Giving nothing away. 3 days later we met at my office. Ivy walked in looking exactly as I remembered. Long auburn hair, flawless makeup. That smile that had once felt like sunshine and now felt like poison. Colton was with her. He looked uncomfortable. His eyes kept darting to me and then away, like he could not decide whether to acknowledge what had happened or pretend we were strangers. I gave them nothing. My expression was neutral. My voice was professional. I was not the girl they had left broken. I was a businesswoman discussing a contract. So, I began, notepad in hand. Tell me about your vision for the wedding. Ivy launched into a detailed description. She wanted everything perfect. The venue had to be elegant but not stuffy. The flowers had to be romantic but not cliché. The food had to be memorable but not pretentious. She wanted a destination feel without actually leaving the city. She wanted magic. And I took notes on every single detail. I asked questions. I made suggestions. I acted like this was just another client. Just another wedding. Colton barely spoke. He let Ivy do all the talking, only nodding occasionally when she asked his opinion. And when our eyes met I saw something there. Guilt. Regret. Maybe even shame. But I did not give him the satisfaction of my anger. I simply smiled and continued taking notes. Over the next 3 months I worked closely with them. Every meeting was professional. Every email was polite. I created mood boards and vendor lists and timeline spreadsheets. I sourced the perfect venue. A historic mansion with gardens that looked like something out of a fairy tale. I found the florist who could create exactly the romantic, whimsical arrangements Ivy wanted. I tasted 17 different cake flavors with them, and helped them choose a menu that would impress their guests. I did my job flawlessly, because that is what I do. I create perfect weddings. But 3 weeks before the wedding, Ivy asked me something that nearly broke my carefully constructed composure. We were reviewing the seating chart at her apartment when she looked up at me with those green eyes and said, Natalia, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I want to ask you something. I waited. You have been so amazing through all of this. So professional and talented and kind, despite everything that happened. And it made me realize something. We used to be so close. We used to be best friends. And I missed that. I miss you. My jaw tightened, but I said nothing. She continued, her voice soft, almost vulnerable. I know I hurt you. I know Colton and I both hurt you. And I cannot take that back. But I would really love it if you would consider being part of our wedding. Not just as the planner, but as someone who matters to me. Would you be my maid of honor? The room went silent. I could hear my own heartbeat. Could feel the blood rushing in my ears. She wanted me to be her maid of honor. To stand beside her as she married the man who was supposed to be mine. To celebrate the relationship that was built on lies and betrayal. The audacity was stunning. Truly breathtakingly stunning. And in that moment I had a choice. I could say no. I could tell her exactly what I thought of her and walk away. I could protect myself from further humiliation. Or I could say yes. I could step even deeper into this twisted narrative. I could play the part she wanted me to play. And then, when the moment was right, I could rewrite the ending. I smiled. Warm. Genuine looking. Ivy, I would be honored. Her face lit up like I had just given her the greatest gift. She hugged me, and I forced myself not to recoil. Thank you, Natalia. This means everything to me. Over the following weeks, I fulfilled both roles: wedding planner and maid of honor. I attended dress fittings. I organized the bachelorette party. I coordinated with vendors and managed the timeline. I did everything perfectly, because that is what I do. I create flawless experiences. And this wedding was going to be flawless. Right up until the moment I made my speech. The wedding day arrived like a storm wrapped in silk and lace. The weather was perfect. Clear blue skies with just enough breeze to make the garden ceremony feel magical. The flowers were exactly as Ivy had envisioned. Romantic, whimsical, overflowing with peonies and garden roses in shades of blush and cream. The string quartet played softly as guests arrived, dressed in their finest, murmuring about how beautiful everything looked. And it was beautiful, because I had made it that way. I arrived early, dressed in the dusty rose gown Ivy had chosen for her bridal party. My hair was styled in soft waves. My makeup was flawless. I looked the part of the supportive friend, the loyal maid of honor. No one looking at me would have guessed the war raging inside my chest. Ivy was in the bridal suite, surrounded by her bridesmaids, all of them fussing over her dress and makeup and hair. She looked stunning. I had to give her that. The dress I had helped her choose fit her perfectly, flowing and romantic with delicate lace details. She looked like a bride in a fairy tale. And when she saw me, she rushed over and grabbed my hands. "Natalia, thank you. For everything. For being here. For making this day so perfect. I know things were complicated, but having you here means the world to me." I squeezed her hands and smiled. "This is your day, Ivy. You deserve for it to be perfect." And I meant it. She did deserve a perfect wedding. Because what was about to happen would be so much more satisfying against a backdrop of perfection. The ceremony began right on schedule. Guests took their seats in the garden. The music shifted to the processional. I walked down the aisle first, leading the bridal party. My bouquet held perfectly, my smile serene. I took my place at the altar and watched as Colton entered from the side. He looked handsome in his tailored suit, nervous but happy. When the bridal march began, everyone stood, and Ivy appeared at the end of the aisle, radiant and glowing, walking toward her future. I watched Colton's face as he saw her, watched the way his eyes filled with emotion, the way he wiped away a tear, and I felt nothing. No pain, no longing, just a cold, clear certainty about what I was about to do. The ceremony was beautiful. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, full of promises about forever and partnership in unwavering love. I stood there holding Ivy's bouquet, my face the picture of supportive friendship. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, everyone cheered. Colton kissed Ivy deeply and she laughed, radiant with joy. And then we all proceeded to the reception. The mansion's ballroom had been transformed into a romantic dreamscape. Candlelight flickered from every surface. The tables were adorned with lush floral centerpieces. Soft music played as guests found their seats for dinner. Everything was perfect, just as I had planned. Dinner was served. Guests ate and drank and laughed. And then came the speeches. The best man went first, telling funny stories about Colton from college. Then one of Ivy's bridesmaids shared a sweet anecdote about their friendship. And then it was my turn. The maid of honor speech. I stood up slowly, smoothing my dress. A server handed me a microphone. The room quieted. All eyes turned to me. Ivy was beaming, her hand clasped in Colton's. Colton looked uncomfortable, but he forced a smile. I took a breath. And I began. "Good evening, everyone. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Natalia Rivers, and I have had the honor of being Ivy's maid of honor today." Polite applause. I smiled and continued. "I have known Ivy for many years. We met in college, and from the moment we became friends, we were inseparable. We shared everything. Our dreams, our fears, our secrets. We were there for each other through heartbreaks and triumphs, late-night study sessions, and early morning adventures." I paused, my eyes scanning the room. Everyone was listening intently. Ivy knew me better than almost anyone. She knew what I valued most in life. Loyalty, honesty, trust. My voice was steady, calm. "And Colton, I have known you too. Quite well, actually." The first ripple of unease moved through the room. A few guests shifted in their seats. Ivy's smile faltered slightly. I continued, my tone still light. almost conversational. In fact, Colton and I dated for 3 years before he met Ivy. The room went completely silent. You could have heard a pin drop. Forks were frozen mid-air. Wine glasses paused halfway to lips. Eyes widened. Whispers started immediately, spreading like wildfire through the tables. Ivy's face had gone pale. Colton looked like he wanted to disappear. But I was not done. I kept my smile in place, warm and genuine looking. It was a serious relationship. We talked about marriage, about building a life together. And when it ended, I was devastated. Heartbroken in a way I had never experienced before. More whispers. Guests were looking between me and the bride and groom, realization dawning on their faces. But you know what helped me through that heartbreak? My best friend, Ivy. She was there for me every single day. She held my hand while I cried. She told me everything would be okay. She promised me that the right person was still out there, and that someday I would understand why this relationship had to end. I paused, letting the words sink in. And she was right. Because now I do understand. I turned to look directly at Ivy and Colton. I understand that some people are willing to sacrifice anything, including integrity and loyalty, for what they want. I understand that sometimes, the people you trust most are the ones who will hurt you deepest. And I understand that love built on betrayal has a very specific foundation. The room was electric with tension. Some guests looked horrified. Others looked fascinated. A few were clearly fighting smiles. Ivy's eyes were filling with tears, but not the happy kind. Colton had his jaw clenched so tight I thought it might shatter. But I was not being cruel. I was not screaming or making a scene. My voice remained calm. My expression remained pleasant. I was simply telling the truth. But here is the thing, I continued, my voice softening. I am genuinely happy for you both. That caught everyone off guard. Even Ivy looked confused. Because losing something you thought you needed creates space for the life you actually deserve. And watching this relationship unfold taught me something invaluable. It taught me about the kind of person I want to be. The kind of friend I want to have. The kind of love I want to build. I raised my glass. So here is to Ivy and Colton. May your marriage be built on the same foundation as your relationship. May you always remember how this began. And may you get exactly what you deserve. I looked around the room one final time. To honesty. To loyalty. And to karma, who never forgets to show up to the party. I lifted my glass higher. Some guests, confused and uncomfortable, lifted theirs as well. Others sat frozen, unsure what to do. I took a sip of my champagne. Then I set down my glass, placed the microphone on the table and walked away. Not rushed. Not frantic. Slow. Graceful. Head held high. I walked out of that ballroom, through the garden, and into the parking lot where my car was waiting. I did not look back. I did not need to, because I had said everything that needed to be said. And I had done it with a smile. The aftermath was predictable. Within hours the story had spread. Guests were texting friends who were not there, sharing what had happened. Someone had recorded my speech on their phone, and by the next morning it was circulating on social media. Not that I posted it. I did not need to. The truth has a way of spreading on its own. My phone exploded with messages. Some from people I had not heard from in years, offering support and applause. Others from mutual acquaintances who wanted the full story. A few from Ivy's relatives, angry and accusatory. I responded to none of them. I simply went back to my life. Back to my business. Back to creating beautiful moments for other people. And I did not think about Ivy and Colton. Not with anger. Not with satisfaction. I simply let them fade into the background of my past where they belonged. But 3 months later I heard the news. Through a mutual acquaintance who could not resist sharing the gossip. Ivy and Colton had separated. The marriage had lasted exactly 87 days. Apparently, Colton had fallen for someone else. Again. Someone he worked with. And Ivy had discovered it the same way I had. Through social media posts and lies that did not quite add up. When I heard that, I did not laugh. I did not celebrate. I did not feel vindicated or victorious. I simply felt a quiet sense of closure. Because karma does not need my help. She has her own schedule. Her own methods. And she is always on time. My business continued to grow. Within 6 months of that wedding, I was booked solid for the next year. I hired 3 more assistants. I opened a second office. I was featured in national wedding publications. Not because of the scandal, though I am sure that did not hurt, but because I was genuinely good at what I did. I created magic for people. I built dreams into reality. And I did it with a level of professionalism and artistry that set me apart. People trusted me with the most important day of their lives. And I honored that trust. Every single time. I also started dating again. Not seriously at first. Just casual dinners and coffee dates. Learning to trust my judgment again. Learning to recognize red flags I had ignored before. Learning that not everyone would betray me. And eventually I met someone. His name is Julian. He is kind, patient, honest in ways that feel almost radical after what I experienced. He knows my story. All of it. And he has never once made me feel like my past trauma was a burden. We have been together for 8 months now. And while I am not ready to plan my own wedding just yet, I can finally imagine a future where I am not defined by what was taken from me. Where I am defined by what I built instead. Looking back now, I can see how that betrayal changed me. It made me harder in some ways. More guarded. Less willing to give people the benefit of the doubt. But it also made me stronger. More resilient. More certain of my own worth. I learned that heartbreak does not have to destroy you. It can refine you. It can teach you what you will and will not tolerate. It can show you exactly who you are when everything you thought was solid turns to smoke. And I learned that revenge does not have to be loud or destructive. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply living well. Is building something so beautiful and successful that it speaks louder than any vindictive act ever could. Is showing up to the moment that was designed to humiliate you and turning it into a demonstration of your strength. That wedding speech was not about destroying Ivy and Colton. It was about reclaiming my narrative. About refusing to be the silent victim in their love story. About standing up and saying, I was here. I mattered. And you do not get to erase me. And that felt better than any revenge I could have planned. Because I walked away from that wedding not as the heartbroken ex, but as a woman who knew her worth. Who refused to shrink or hide or pretend. Who could look betrayal in the face and smile. Not because it did not hurt, but because she knew she would survive it. So if you are watching this and you have been betrayed by someone you trusted, hear me when I say this. You will survive. The pain feels endless right now. The betrayal feels like it might actually kill you. But it will not. You are stronger than you know. And one day you will look back on this moment and realize it was not the end of your story. It was just the beginning of a much better chapter. Do not waste your energy on revenge. Do not let them live rent-free in your head. Instead, take that pain and turn it into fuel. Build something beautiful. Become someone extraordinary. Live a life so full and so rich that their betrayal becomes nothing more than a footnote. Because that is the ultimate power move. Not destruction, but creation. Not tearing them down, but building yourself up so high they cannot even reach you. And when they inevitably fall, as people like that always do, you will not even be paying attention. Because you will be too busy living. That is what I did. And that is what I am still doing. Every single day. I am Natalia Rivers. And I turned my heartbreak into art. Into success. Into a life that I am genuinely proud of. Not because I got revenge. But because I refused to let their betrayal define me. I refused to let their actions steal my joy. I refused to become bitter or broken. I chose to become better instead. And if you are facing your own heartbreak right now, I hope you will choose the same thing. Not revenge, but resilience. Not destruction, but creation. Not staying stuck in the pain, but walking through it and coming out stronger on the other side. Because you deserve that. You deserve to write your own ending. And I promise you when you do, it will be so much better than anything you could have imagined. So take my story. Let it be proof that you can survive the worst betrayal. That you can face the people who hurt you and still hold your head high. That you can turn your pain into power. And that sometimes the best revenge is not revenge at all. It is simply becoming the best version of yourself. That is my story. That is my truth. And I am sharing it with you because I want you to know that you are not alone. That heartbreak does not have to be the end. That you are capable of so much more than you realize. So do not give up. Do not let them win by staying broken. rise, build, create, become. And one day when they see what you have built, they will realize exactly what they lost. And you will realize you never needed them at all, because you had everything you needed inside you the whole time. You just needed the pain to show you where to find it. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being here. And remember, you are stronger than your heartbreak. You are bigger than your betrayal. And you are capable of building a life so beautiful it takes your own breath away. Now go do it. If this story resonated with you, if it gave you hope or strength or even just a moment of understanding, please subscribe to our channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. Because we all deserve to know that heartbreak is not the end. It is just the beginning of something better. Hit that subscribe button and let us keep building each other up. Together.